A lion stands over a dead cheetah on an open plain in the Serengeti. It killed it less than 10 minutes ago. Not over food, not over territory, not over a mate. The cheetah was just there, in the wrong place, in the wrong body. The lion looks down at it the way you'd look at something you stepped on. Then it walks away, doesn't take a bite, doesn't even sniff. 100 pounds of fresh meat cooling in the grass, and the thing that killed it treats it like it doesn't exist. Why would a predator go through the trouble of killing another predator and then leave the body behind? Or does carnivore meat just taste that bad? Let's start with what most people get wrong. The idea that predator meat is toxic, that it tastes terrible, that something about it is fundamentally inedible. That's not quite right. Calorie for calorie, a pound of cheetah is roughly the same as a pound of zebra. The meat isn't poison, it's just expensive. Not in dollars, in math. In 1942, an ecologist named Raymond Lindemann mapped something that should have been obvious but wasn't. Energy doesn't travel well. At every step up a food chain, 90% of it vanishes, burned off as heat, spent on breathing, wasted just staying alive. A field of grass holds enormous energy, but by the time it passes through an antelope and into the lion that catches it, almost nothing is left. Predators sit at the top of that funnel, which means they're rare. 10 to 100 times rarer than the herbivores around them. So hunting a predator means investing the same energy and risk to chase a target that is harder to find, harder to catch, and, here's the part that changes everything, capable of hurting you back. In 1989, ecologists Gary Polis and Christopher Myers gave this a name. Intraguild predation, killing something that eats what you eat. It happens. The question isn't whether predators eat other predators. The question is why it almost never happens. And then, off the coast of South Africa, something started happening that broke the pattern completely. Starting in 2017, great white shark carcasses began washing up on the beaches near Gansbaai, a small town on the southern coast where cage diving tourists used to come specifically to see them. Each body had the same signature, a single, precise wound. Their bellies had been opened. Their livers had been removed. Everything else was left behind. Marine biologist Alison Towner at the Dyer Island Conservation Trust tracked the kills to a pair of orcas the researchers had named Port and Starboard, identifiable because Starboard's dorsal fin collapsed to the right. By 2022, Towner's team had documented 8 carcasses, 7 with their livers surgically extracted, some with their hearts taken too. Nothing else touched. A great white shark liver can weigh over 100 pounds, dense with the oils and fats that make it the single most calorie-rich organ in the animal. The rest? Left to drift. In 2024, Starboard did something no one had recorded before. He killed a great white alone. A 2.5-meter juvenile shark, dispatched in under 2 minutes. Solo. 1 predator, 1 kill, 1 organ, done. And the fallout was immediate. Towner's team tracked 14 tagged great whites fleeing the area. The sharks didn't just avoid the orcas, they abandoned the entire coastline. Before 2017, white sharks had only disappeared from those waters twice, once for a week, once for 3. Now they were gone for months. Bronze whaler sharks moved in to fill the gap. The pressure on Cape fur seals shifted. The whole ecosystem rearranged itself around 2 animals and their appetite for 1 organ. But here's what makes this the exception that proves the rule. Even the most efficient predator-on-predator hunter on the planet doesn't eat the whole animal. It takes the liver and leaves. Maximum return, minimum risk. That's not hunting. That's surgery. So if even orcas cherry-pick, why don't the rest bother at all? In 2007, researchers Chris Carbone, Amber Teacher, and Marcus Rowcliffe published a study in PLOS Biology that laid out the economics of being a predator. Every hunt is a gamble. Energy spent chasing, energy spent fighting, energy lost if you fail. And predators fail a lot. A lion hunting buffalo succeeds about 54% of the time. A tiger, depending on terrain, as low as 5%. That's against herbivores, animals that run. Now replace the zebra with something that has its own claws, its own teeth, its own instinct to kill. The failure rate climbs. The injury rate climbs higher. And in the wild, an injury isn't an inconvenience. A broken jaw means you can't eat. A torn shoulder means you can't chase. A deep bite that gets infected means you die slowly over days with no one coming to help. A lion doesn't have health insurance. That math explains the strangest part of all this, the thing that makes the cheetah in the opening scene make sense. Predators kill other predators constantly. They just don't eat them. When wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone, they began killing coyotes on sight. Not eating them, killing them and walking away. Within 2 years, the coyote population in wolf territory collapsed. In Africa, lions kill cheetahs and wild dogs regularly. Researchers have documented it across decades. The lions don't eat them. They don't even seem interested. They kill the animal, stand over it for a moment, and leave. Not food, not hunger, competition. Eliminating something that hunts what you hunt, that breathes the same air, that takes a share of the same prey. It's not a meal. It's a message. And yet, at Londolozi, in the private reserve bordering Kruger, a leopard was observed doing the thing leopards almost never do. It caught a cheetah and ate it, the whole thing. This wasn't a dominant predator making a point. This was an animal that was starving, that had failed enough hunts in a row that the math finally tipped. When the only alternative is dying, the rule bends. Desperation, not strategy. The skeptic hears all of this and has a fair point. The rule leaks. Orcas eat sharks. Bears eat wolverines. Great horned owls eat red-tailed hawks. If predators really avoid eating each other, why do we keep finding exceptions? Because look at every single one. The predator that eats is always significantly larger. The risk of injury is close to zero. The technique is either overwhelming force or surgical precision. The exceptions don't break the pattern. They trace its edges. The question was never whether it happens. It's why it's so rare that when it does, it makes the news. We can count the kills. We can map the scars. We can track 14 great whites fleeing a coastline because 2 orcas figured out where the liver sits. But whether a lion standing over a dead cheetah feels anything at all, triumph, contempt, or nothing, that's a door we haven't learned how to open. Maybe the more honest question is what you feel when you picture it. Because your answer says more about you than it does about the lion. But there is one case that broke every rule I just laid out. Sabi Sand Game Reserve, South Africa, 2010. A coalition of 6 male lions, known as the Mapogo, had controlled the territory for years. They were, by most accounts, the most brutal coalition ever documented in the region. They killed rival males. That part is normal. Male lions do that. But in 2010, they killed a rival male known to the rangers as Kinky Tail. And then they did the thing lions don't do. They ate him. Not because they were starving. They'd made a kill recently. Not because there was nothing else available. There were herds grazing within walking distance. A predator ate a predator of its own species, with no survival pressure, no nutritional need, no explanation that fits neatly into the cost-benefit framework that governs almost every other interaction on this list. 6 males standing over the body of a 7th, feeding. Rangers at Londolozi who had watched the Mapogo for years said they had never seen anything like it. Lions kill rivals. They don't consume them. Whatever happened that night didn't follow the playbook that every other predator interaction on Earth seems to run on. And nobody who was there could tell you why. Every predator on this planet runs some version of the same arithmetic before it bites. Is this worth what it might cost me? Can I afford the wound? Is there something easier? Something softer, something that won't fight back. 2 million years of your ancestors running that same calculation, hunt after hunt, scar after scar, built the instinct that still sits in you right now. You eat cows and chickens and fish, you farm them by the billion, but you've never once considered eating a wolf. Not because of the law, not because of the taste, because something older than language already did the math for you. That lion at the beginning, the one standing over the dead cheetah in the grass, it looked down and it walked away. You would have done the same thing. Every predator knows. The scar is never worth the meal.